I was sitting here scrolling on my YouTube, going through different videos, and I came across one that was very, very interesting. It was about a review of the Essence Festival 2025. And it was a young lady who was talking about the festival. Now, let me give you some background as to what the Essence Festival is or what it caters to. So, Essence Festival is a festival that highlights the contributions and the culture of the African American community. I believe that's what the Essence Festival is. It highlights the African American culture, and it is one of the biggest uh, festivals that does that here in the US. And I don't know if it's always in New Orleans, but I think according to that video, it happened in New Orleans. Anyways, so she was talking about her reaction to the Essence Festival was that she wasn't happy with the fact that it seemed that Essence Festival has been overtaken by the African culture. That everything about the festival was catering to the African culture in terms of music, dance, food, performances, and she did some stitches uh, with her uh, with her reaction with other individuals who also shared her view. And to be honest with you, I don't like to be political and talk about color. I don't, I think one has to be very cautious when talking about color. But to be honest with you, that's one of the things that I have to agree with. Being an African myself and being raised here in the US, I have seen the divide from the very first time I came here. Africans and African Americans are not united. I remember one time I made a video, and I actually posted on YouTube more than 10 years ago. I made a video titled, Why Do Africans Hate African Americans? Yes, that title was just specifically for traction. But, anyways, a lot of people were debating. Oh my goodness, it was a crazy because the whole point of me opening up that specific space was for Africans and African Americans to debate in a civil manner, in a way of maybe helping each other understand their stances. Oh my God, it was, and I'm sorry to say, oh my God, oh my goodness, it was insane. When I say people were going in on each other, oh, it was about, oh, your culture. Oh, Africans, you think you're better. Oh, the Africans are talking about African Americans. You don't know your ancestry. You don't know your ancestors. It was crazy to the point where I had to delete that video because I wanted peace of mind. Because like I said, this was more than 10 years ago. In fact, way more than 10 years. Maybe it was even like 12 years ago, maybe even 13. Okay, let's say 12. And the funny thing is that I got so many views on that video, and it was negativity, it was hate between African Americans and Africans. That's all it was. Listen, they even came for my lips. They were talking about my lips. Oh, you African girl, you have big lips. But I'm like, can y'all stay focused on the topic? Don't worry about the size of my lips. Does it matter? But to see Black people going back and forth like that, for me, it was so disappointing. Black people going back and forth because of ignorance and ignorance from both sides. Listen to me when I say this to any Black person who's going to come across this live. For me as an African, having to assimilate to the culture here was very hard because I remember coming here, being here as a kid, being teased and taunted about, the way I looked because at that time I came, with my very natural hair. It was, you know, and I was just straight from Africa. I had an accent. Of course, in my country, English is our first language, so I didn't have a problem with English. But I had an accent. I was African, clearly. And I remember being taunted because of that. Yes, I went to a school that was, like a kind of more of a, it was a diverse school. But still, there were these underlying jokes made about the culture, made about the dressing. Oh, you don't wear deodorant, or did you come here on an elephant? Just ignorance, total ignorance. And as a kid that time, I couldn't understand it. I'm like, why? Why are these people so mean? But as an adult, I understand it now. Ignorance. Because even when you think back to someone asking you, how did you get here? Ignorance is taught, and ignorance is something that has been taught to us generationally as Black people. We are ignorant of each other's cultures. One thing I'll say is being here as an African, I think the first thing, and every African should learn, especially when they migrate to the US, learn Black culture is very important. Why? The only way you can have some empathy for the Black experience is by knowing the culture. If you don't know the culture, if you don't know the history, how would you be able to empathize with your fellow brothers and sisters? You won't. If you don't know what Black people went through and you're here, you have freedom because of the Black people and because of what they endured, because of slavery, because of they went and fought in the wars, because they helped to build the nation. You are here and you're here with freedom. Yeah, you can go to whatever school you want to go to without being discriminated against, even though there's still discrimination. But most of those Black people who have been here in the US are the ones who experience the outright discrimination. Right now, yes, as Black folks, we are all experiencing it, even when we go to buy a house or buy a car. It's very, what word can I use? It's there, but it's very I can't think of the word. It's not out loud, like blatant, but there's an undertone, okay? And I don't blame a lot of white people too, because racism is also taught. So if you grew up in racism, you're going to be racist. But now there's no excuse because now we have the internet, we have the knowledge now. We can access education. This also goes to my fellow white brothers and sisters who are going to come across this video because I believe that we're all family in Christ. Learn culture. Learn not just rap music and R&B. That's not just all that it is to Black American culture. There's so much more. There's so much beauty to the culture. Learn it, right? Learn the culture so that you can be able to sympathize and even empathize. Well, you can never really empathize, but sympathize with the Black experience is very important because the truth of the matter is that going back to the Black groups, Africans and African Americans, guys, we're fighting this battle amongst ourselves for no reason. Ignorance is at the root of this argument. If we can just take time, especially like I said, I talked to Africans earlier and said Africans should learn African American history. African Americans, I also think African Americans or Black Americans, because sometimes African Americans like to be called Black Americans, and I understand why. If you've lived here, you know, you were born here, you were raised here, your grandparents were raised here, your great grandparents. If you can trace back your generations and your family, your ancestry is here in America. Yes, you should be called Black American. Why not? If you want to, to be, connected to your African ancestry, why not? It should be a choice that Black people should be given. It shouldn't be something that is forced, right? It should not be something that is forced because for sure, if you like, I have a child that's born here. She's born in America. She's not African completely. She's going to have a fusion of cultures. Even I myself, I came here at a young age. I have a fusion of cultures because I was raised here. So I was not raised like the typical African. And sometimes I see the differences between myself and a typical African. And there are some huge differences because I don't really relate all the way culturally. See, that's a different topic. That's why I'm saying it's important for people to understand the levels. There's levels to all of this. But anyways, going back to my main thing. So I think ignorance, if we can just take time to learn each other, a little bit, especially Africans, when you come to America, learn about the Black struggle, read about it, educate yourselves. You guys get education on all levels, right? You come and get education, you get your degrees. Why not study some African American history so that you can understand why African Americans feel the way they feel? There's an oppression that has been going on in the Black community for a long time, and you can't pretend that you don't know about it when you Black too. Shoot. So you think just because you're Black and because you're from Africa, that you're different? You are no more different than an African American. Like, if you see two Black people, like if you looked at me and didn't know that I was African, would you think I was African? I mean, outside of the lips. But would you? You might not. So this of the history is very important, and also to African Americans, to Black Americans, to just taking it easy, learning to know African culture. Also, give us a chance. Don't just think that, oh, because we're here, all of us think that we're better than you. No, that's not true. We don't all think that we're better than African Americans. Are there some Africans who think that? Maybe, possibly. But we don't all share that view. So be open to meeting people and to listening to stories and to understanding why we have these views of each other. Because obviously, these are outside views that were planted. Okay. And so now these things have gone generationally. Now, all of a sudden, an African goes somewhere and you hear their name, you hear they're African, and immediately in the back of your mind, you think they hate you because you're Black American. It's not always the case. So let's just start by trying to understand each other. And I say this heavy on the African side because we came to America. We came here. So we have to do a justice by trying to understand the Black American culture. It's not all hip hop and R&B. Like I said, there's so much more to the culture. Can we coexist? Can we support each other? Can we live peacefully? Can we find a middle ground where we can all express our cultural backgrounds? Can we not look down on each other because maybe someone doesn't know the village where they came from or doesn't know their African ancestor? If it wasn't for 23andMe and the DNA stuff, there are a lot of people who may not know that their grandfather is Nigerian or their great grandfather was Cameroonian. So can we just knock it off on making people feel a way when they don't know what village they're from, or who their great 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 grandparent was? Just knock it off, and let's find a way to get along. Let's find a way to get along. We are brothers and sisters in Christ and in you know race. So why not? Why should we continue being at war? I don't think it's worth it. So that's my take on the whole Essence. I didn't even really know about the Essence Festival before this because I'm a person who I'm I'm just not really into the internet like that. But have some knowledge. Black people, Black Americans, Africans, have some knowledge about each other because that's where our divide is coming from our ignorance. If we can get into a library, you don't even have to go to a library. If we can just pull up a damn article, pull up something. Don't just know about Martin Luther King from hearsay. No, why Martin Luther King existed. Know what Martin Luther King did. Know what Malcolm X did. Know what Harriet Tubman did. Know what these people did that affords us as Africans the freedoms that we have today. I will stand 10 toes on that one. And I'm not even saying this to get any attention here. I'll stand 10 toes on that one because you need to be very, very grateful for, the people that came before us. But, anyways, again, I'll say this was not really about a race issue and, blah, blah, blah. Black people shouldn't like white people. This is to Black people. Y'all need to learn how to get along. Y'all need to learn how to coexist because we can. We can. It's a matter of knowledge, it's a matter of intention, and also don't be so quick to think somebody is your enemy. Don't. Because just because I'm African and you're Black American doesn't mean I don't like you. Doesn't mean I don't support you. Doesn't mean I don't feel your pain. It doesn't mean when I see a story on the internet I'm saying, "Oh, I don't care about him because he died in the ghetto." No, I care. That is my fellow Black. When I see that, I see my brother, I see my uncle, I see my cousin. So I care. So let's have some sort of empathy and learn each other's culture. Oh, bye, guys. How do I end this? Oh,